this variant. I mean, it's just killed a very close friend of mine. So I think this is the right action now for us to do.
Okay. With no other discussion, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. That is unanimous.
Commissioners, one other point is that Thursday's meeting will go forward in person. And the reason for that is that there's already certain public hearings that have been advertised, and so other than that, we'd have to delay those. So that's why Thursdays is in person.
Okay. So for the public record, we will be meeting in person, and the hearings that are set for Thursday evening will still be heard as normal. Item number 2, receive an update from Community Development Block Grant COVID Food Bank Project. We have someone here to make that presentation.
I will do it. Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Monica, Grants Coordinator for Glynn County. So briefly, before I pass the baton on to Ms. Mary Jane Crouch with American Second Harvest, I came before you with this project in October of 2020, just informing you or showing you the need for increased capacity at our local food bank warehouse. Unfortunately, we weren't able to submit back in January of 2021. But now with the new funding opportunity coming down from DCA, it is a Community Development Block Grant COVID grant. And this really offers a lot of opportunities to food banks across the state of Georgia to submit an application and allow them to expand their facilities either by increasing capacity at their local warehouses, existing ones, or building from the ground up. So without further ado, I will pass this on to Ms. Mary Jane Crouch. She will give you more information, and then I will conclude. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Monica. I'm not sure if you have the PowerPoint that we can share.
We see something on the screen.
Okay, great. I can't see what's on the screen, so I apologize. And I apologize for not being there with you in person today. I had a brand new grandbaby yesterday in Charleston, and so I had committed to come here, and I could not be there, so I apologize profusely.
Well, congratulations, and that is keeping your priorities in order, so we perfectly understand.
So I just kind of wanted to give you a brief update on what our plan is. I believe Ryan is there also that could talk to the plan if needed. But what we are planning to do, as you know, still there are around 19,000 children in Glynn County. 64% of the children in Glynn County do qualify for meal assistance at the schools. We've started some new programs this summer where we are providing meals after school to the different camps, the football teams and everything through our Kids Cafe program. And we're going to be continuing those at various locations this fall as we go into winter, and hopefully COVID will go away and we'll be able to do even more. But part of our plan for the new building, I believe if you have on the screen now, you'll see the current facility and how crowded it is. And so you can see right now where we are on Indigo Drive is 5,000 square feet. And it is very, very crowded. We do not have a lot of room. We have to turn offers of food down in that area because we do not have a ability to accept them. The new facility we are looking at, and Ryan can probably speak to this also since he's there, is that we have identified a property that is 53,000 square feet. It's still in the same neighborhood out near the airport. Glynn County Development Authority has been working with us on it. Our plan is to purchase that building, renovate that building by adding a kitchen, so we'll be able to cook meals for children in the area, add a volunteer center, so we'll actually be able to pack boxes and everything, get some equipment, some new forklifts and things, and refrigeration and coolers, so that we'll be able to store a lot more food. The new facility is a little bit more than we had anticipated in the past, but the grant is a little bit more than we also anticipated. DCA, the Department of Community Affairs, has given us the opportunity to apply for a $2 million grant, of which we'll be able to purchase the building, and then we will be able to do all of the renovations. We're in the process, right? The new building is at 2591 Sydney Lanier Drive. We're in the process of raising the other $500,000. We've already raised $500,000 toward that match. We were required to raise $1 million, and we've already raised, actually we've raised close to 700,000 of it. So we're almost there to meet that match, and our goal is to be finished with that match by the time the grant to DCA is due, which will be in November, so that when we go to them, we will have raised all the funds and we'll be able to say we're ready to start our project. So I just kind of wanted to update you that we've kind of taken a different turn. This is going to give us even more room to be able to provide food for the community. It's going to allow us to already have a place that has docks, fencing and everything. It's a beautiful building, and we obviously will invite you all for the ribbon cutting. And this DCA funding does have to go through the county and does also have to go through the Glynn County Development Authority. So I hope that you all will continue to be supportive and help us make this a reality for our community.
Thank you so much, and we'll look forward to that and for the help that we can provide for the community. So thank you very much.
So Commissioners, I appreciate your time. This is a unique partnership with American Second Harvest because of the fact that only local units of government can submit this grant. So for them to get this off the ground and actually done, they have to partner with us. And I'm very, very happy to do that. It would also require a partnership with the Coastal Regional Commission, which they are happy to do so in helping us manage the grant post-award. Luckily, this is also going to be it has a really quick turnaround. The grant the project has to be completed by December of 2023. And also we will have to have a partnership with the Development Authority. So there's a lot of moving pieces, but I feel very confident that we can put them together in time to submit our application in November.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Harden.
Thank you.
Commissioners, is there?
Mr. Chairman, Ryan, I know there are other components of this thing. Are you able to talk about it? And I think it's going to be a win-win for a lot of people.
It will be. Ryan Moore with the Golden Isles Development Authority. We've been working with Mary Jane and her group for quite some time, and just given the timeline that she's working under, buying an existing facility makes a lot more sense for her operations. And renovating, we were able to identify that building. There's currently another tenant in the building. We're not quite there on making an announcement where that tenant goes, but we plan to keep them local and support them as well. So this will be a great kickoff to several projects that should come from this funding.
But suffice it to say, the tenant that's in the building is looking at expanding their footprint as well as First Harvest.
That's right. There's a lot of moving parts to this. Second Harvest would move into a much larger, nicer facility, and then hopefully we'll identify a place to expand for the existing company. We've been working with them for some time, so this helps two existing industries, puts another building on the ground, potentially in our industrial parks. We do own the building at 2591 Lanier. It's capital lease to the company that's in it, but we'll work with both parties to make sure that we meet that timeline.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay. We appreciate that very much. We look forward to seeing this move forward. Item number 3 today is the Glynn County Airport Commission requests the acceptance of Federal Aviation Administration Airport Rescue Act Grant Contract number 3-13-018-047-2021 for the Brunswick Golden Isles Airport. And have we got Ms. Winslet?
This is a part or a piece of the grant that's going to build the
Calibration pad?
The calibration pad. So my understanding is that this is a multi-phase project, and this is the first grant, and this would just flow through the county. We have to accept it on the Airport Commission's behalf.
Right, and I spoke to her late last week, and basically the grant comes in, but they're spending money out of pocket. It gets reimbursed back to them, and I think it's going to be a 4-phase kind of project. So We need to vote to accept that today. So do I hear a motion from the floor?
Motion to accept the Federal Aviation Administration Grant Number 3-13-0018-047-2021, subject to the review of the county attorney to fund the Brunswick Golden Isles Airport operational and maintenance expenditures in the amount of $1,200,745.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Rafalski, a second by Commissioner Booker. Any other discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. That is unanimous. Item number 4, receive a staff update on the Georgia-Florida football weekend on St. Simon's Island. Ms. Munson.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Staff is really putting this out here for your discussion on what you want to do for Georgia, Florida this year. As you know, COVID is really ramped up in this area. Our hospital is maxed out. I think the last I heard, we're at worse numbers now than we were last year at this time. So it's a rough year for COVID in our community. However, that being said, this does bring in revenue to our businesses in the St. Simons area. So we did reach out to Scott McQuaid, and he's here today to speak to you all regarding his conversations that he's had with merchants in the area. But we're looking for direction on if you want us to go with the alcohol ban that we had last year and try to discourage UGA students from coming here for the Georgia-Florida game to try to reduce COVID spread, or if you want us to, go out, do food trucks, do the porta potties that we normally do, and have trash patrol on the beach. I think either way, we're going to have to do some of that, but it really just, it's up to the commission, how much you want us to encourage or discourage this event. Also, we will be having some of the trial items going on for the Arbory trial during that time. So that's something else to keep in mind related to public safety, availability to work the beaches, et cetera. So, Scott, if
Mr.
you want
McQuaid, do you want to come up and speak? And state your name for the record, please.
Sure. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Scott McQuaid with the Golden Isles Convention and Visitors Bureau. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to discuss the matter at hand with you. I have taken the opportunity also to reach out to several owners, operators of hotels, vacation rentals, restaurants and bars and of the like. Of course, you cannot come up with an entire consensus from that group. But some of the items that I did hear back from the business community, I think the one consensus that I had is that the event is very important to the business community, the hotels, vacation rentals, and of course the bars and the restaurants. We saw this once have an impact. Generally, we could expect Georgia-Florida weekend to be anywhere from 90 to 100% occupancy. And I think also during that time, we witnessed the beach party grow to something that was beyond probably the county's wildest dreams or the communities. And some of those behaviors became reckless and intolerable. So I think when the county took a step to really tighten down on that whether it was that step or just Georgia's football performance, we did see a significant reduction in visitation as a result. And then it slowly built back over the years. So last year's approach, I wish we had a better measure on whether the students would have come back without the alcohol ban or with it. But of course, last year, attendance at the game was limited to 50% capacity. And after talking to lodgers, generally what we saw last year, and keep in mind we're going through the second resurgence of COVID at that time, we saw about a 50% occupancy in the hotels. So it almost seems like this year we're re-entering the same exact situation that we're in last year. We're seeing the third occurrence of COVID coming back, and we're not sure how the football game attendance will be limited. But from several business owners, I did hear a general concern if we, get too restrictive on this event back to maybe what we did 5 or 6 years ago, it might have an impact. I also heard that more restrictive stance also limited some alumni and kids coming back. So I don't envy the position you're in. I know we have to balance the needs of our business community and our community as a whole, and certainly I commend the commission for their efforts to get the behaviors under control, because they were concerning, I think, to everyone in the community. And I do know that someone from our business community is also here, and I'm not sure if he would like to speak, but that kind of sums up the thoughts. I think long-term, I think what you would find, I think some other good feedback that I got was almost all business owners sympathize with the position that the county leadership is in with this event. And what was suggested was, rather than just try to turn this one off, could we do something more intermediary to backfill other activities, more things to do other than just the frat beach party scene? Of course, that takes time. So the suggestion was, just don't turn one off and then hope another one will come in its place. It'll take us years to rebuild a different type of business. That is a shoulder season weekend, not necessarily the highest in demand. So, those are the things that you might want to consider today.
Mr. Chairman, 6 years ago, I was naive enough to think I could get my arms around this Georgia-Florida frat beach deal, and I went to great lengths talking to the university and everybody else in the world, and I failed miserably. I don't think there is a good answer to this thing. Forrest, I guess that's you behind the mask out there. What I hear from him and other restaurateurs, we can't get anybody to come to work. We got a problem staffing our restaurants as they are. The problem I think that we've got as a county is we are going to be stretched to the limit. Our resources, sheriff and police department, fire department, EMTs, all the people that we use out there during this frat beach charade is a lot of manpower. It's a lot of resources, and those resources I'm not sure we got. Period. Forget about the Arbery trial. So I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but I think we need to make every effort we can to try to curtail this thing. Besides this potential super spreader that could occur on the beach out there, we've got our people, our deputies and our policemen who are putting themselves in harm's way, and I'm sure they'll be masked up, but it's just, it could turn into a really catastrophic event if this thing goes sideways. Forrest, you want to say anything? You sort of the voice of you're on the firing line down there, and come up here.
If you would come to the mic, please.
I'm Forrest Brown from Brogan's Incorporated, and I talked with Scott this morning, and I've talked to Commissioner Brunson in the past when he said he screwed it up, and I agree with him. But he owned it, and he was doing the best he could. And I don't know of any great answers, to be honest with you. Being in business, I want to do as much business as I can, but not at the expense of some kind of catastrophe for the county. I have a sort of a foot in both camps. I don't want to make the students mad. I don't want to make them not be a friend of Brogan's and come to Brogan's, not just that weekend, but any weekend. And we've been lucky that we're a very popular spot and we get a lot of business that week. But I wouldn't want to be in y'all's shoes. I don't know the answer, but I do know what Commissioner Brunson's saying is very true. that, you know, we're short-staffed all the way around, not just me with my staff, but from the county, well, mainly the county and the law enforcement, so, which is a huge component of what we're trying to go through. So that being said, you know, I don't know the answer. Like I said, I wouldn't want to be in y'all's shoes. I know you'll do the best you can do, and I don't know what that's going to be. You know, the letter that was written back when, which is what Commissioner Brunson's talking about, I'm afraid that got to the alumni, which you can scare the alumni off. I don't believe you can scare the kids off. You know, I don't think they would, you know, you could tell them there was mines out there that were set off by alcohol and they'd still be there. But, you know, I hate to break the string of tradition that people come here year after year after year. And granted, we're living in a crazy world now, and this is a crazy time with the COVID. But what you're saying about the hospitals being full and everybody being short-staffed, it's everything working against us. So I hate to take up your time and not really say anything, but I don't have any better solutions than y'all do. If I did, I'd be sitting up there with you.
I don't have anything to say either, so with two of us.
Could we take the approach, maybe, is just to tell the truth to students and the alumni, what our situation is? I mean, those who will understand it will come back once we get past this thing. And those that don't understand it, I'm not sure if we want them to come back. In this kind of environment, if people can't understand that this thing is deadly, it's killing people every day, and young people, if they can't understand it, I'm not sure if we should have to welcome that out for them.
Yes, sir. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I do know that just from conversations in the young people, like young people are, that we all used to be, they're not as worried about it as some of the rest of us. Doesn't mean that that's right, but the whole thing has just gotten so squirrely. I mean, the numbers from the hospital don't lie about the vaccination and all that stuff, but you know, the COVID thing getting as political as it's gotten, and like I said, young people, they think they're bulletproof, and I don't know, but I do understand what you're saying, that people of, you know, good sense and thinking along the right lines would probably understand the situation, and it wouldn't affect them forever. So,
No, I think originally, in looking at this thing holistically, we had a situation 5 or 6 years ago that when we were looking like Panama City, with people showing up with guns and all sorts of stuff, and all of a sudden that everything got shut down, and that was the last thing we wanted. But we wanted to try to keep that sort of environment from replicating itself on St. Simon's, and it was getting there. I mean, it was close. I mean, you've got 100-pound little girls face down in the sand.
But I know.
And I mean, somebody was going to die. And at some point, I know, I'm sorry Cap isn't here, we got to take a look at this Frat Beach thing. Forget about COVID. We got to figure out another better way to have a little more wholesome environment than gallon jugs of grain alcohol.
right. No, I agree. And you know, not being this time with stuff so limited, I would have thought, well, more police presence on the beach instead of, you know, I mean, instead of maybe affecting the wrong people, which I says alumni, and I don't, you know what I mean. You know, everybody's going to have a couple of drinks, but if you get foul hooked on a roadblock and maybe you're over the limit, you lose you got a lot more invested in these kids that think, you know, so I think, not that anybody should be driving over the limit. I don't get that, but I don't know, it happens. But now you don't have the manpower to police the beach like you would probably prefer to do if that was the route that you went. So there's no good answers, I don't think.
Well, I think as a commission, we very much want to support our business community on the island, but we also want to protect our citizenry from an outbreak that would make our community less safe than it is right now. So I don't know. I'm shaking my magic 8-ball up here, but I'm not getting any real answers yet. So we'll see about that. Sheriff Jump, do you want to address the trial that's going to be going on at the same time and what we might be expecting at that point in time?
Have to excuse my jacket attire, but it's raining outside. I'm Neil Jump, Sheriff of Glynn County, and thank you for allowing me to come up and speak. And I don't have Chief Baptiste here for us to speak together, but I can tell you the Georgia-Florida weekend is going to be right at the height of the mod trial. And in the past, our local judges, our chief judge has been so good to us to counsel all courts for that one day on Friday. And we could probably get that done again, but I can assure you the trial itself won't be canceled, not unless there's a very bad case of the COVID where Judge Wormsley chooses to stop it. That's not going to be a stopping point. Also, the law enforcement, as you both said, everybody's short. We're short. But we will do what we have to do, as the county PD will do, because that's what we do for the citizens of Glynn County, and we'll keep mustering forward. I remind you also that we have reached out to GSP and DNR for assistance in the past. Think about their resources have also been pulled thin to go to Atlanta on weekends. So the things that we have used in the past, we probably can't use them this time. Now, we could reach out to our surrounding sheriffs and different ones and say, hey, send me a team of 3, send me a team of 4, whatever you can spare. And they would probably send it down here to help us out, which, and I would send mine to help other sheriffs out. COVID, it's here. But, you know, our great governor has also said he'd give us sense enough to know that if you get to a situation, wear the mask, use social distancing like we do here, because y'all are the great leaders we have for the county, and that's what we've got to follow by. Can't do it on the beach. We can mask up. Our hospital partners will be there if they've got the people, but your magic ball and the flip of the coin and the chairman, you did what you thought was right that time, and we stood right with you and did what we had to do. And just as we will today going forward, you have the support of the sheriff. If you tell us to do it, we're going to do it. I do want our business people to prosper, because I want them to get more dimes than mine, because I ain't got many, but I enjoy spending what I got over there, because it's good food, good fellowship, good accommodations, and we'll move forward from the day on. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sheriff John. Commissioners, it will fall to you to discuss and decide. Anyone who want to lead this discussion?
I just want clarification. We were having to make a decision today, or it seemed like in the past we had to have an ordinance drawn up and reviewed. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So if we do get the direction in which way you all want to go, we'll work on an ordinance, bring it forward. We do have to get moving on food trucks and porta potties and all of the stuff that we have to do if that's the direction we're going to go. So we are looking for at least a yay or a nay to move forward so the departments can start getting those resources in line. As far as the alcohol ban, that's something that we would bring back at another meeting if that's the direction you decide to go.
Well, last year we didn't provide food trucks, or we just had officers on the beach. Is that correct? And we shut down the parking lots.
Did we have food trucks last year?
No food trucks. We had porta potties. We had food for the volunteers.
We had food for the staff that was working it. And did we have food trucks out there for the staff? No. Okay. So the food trucks must have been the prior year.
Well, my suggestion, Mr. Chairman, I think Commissioner Fendig wanted to weigh in on this. Is there any way we can bring this up again Thursday night and finish a discussion on it and give staff, I mean, there's a 2-day wait. I know he had texted me that he wanted to have some discussion about it.
I believe we could, yes.
Well, that's would be my recommendation at this time, is to bring it back up for discussion Thursday night with him here as Island Commissioner. I think he has the right to weigh in on it.
And any other comments then today, or are we ready to table this till Thursday to move forward? Commissioner Brunson, did you have something you...
No, I think that's I think that's wise counsel. Like I say, there's no good answer to this thing. I think that we're going to be limited this year to what we got. I mean, it's just, when you call the hospital and say, we'd like to have, 10 nurses out here to take care of people, they ain't got them. When you start talking to the police, we just don't have them. And I certainly would discourage our even thinking about food trucks. Let me just say one thing. Back in the day when we really tried to do this thing, the University of Georgia Southern, Valdosta State, all of them were very, very cooperative initially. And then after the thing, the University of Georgia let it be known unequivocally they did not want their name associated anywhere with Frat Beach. And I think that sort of speaks volumes to what they perceived was going on when the university, and they put everything in the red and black. They advertised it. They sent the letter out to the students. They did all those things to cooperate. But I think after they woke up and realized what Frat Beach really was all about, and they didn't want any part of it. They didn't want their name associated with Frat Beach. So does that speak well for our community? I think not. And there's just got to be another way to skin a cat. That's all I got to say.
All right. Any other commissioner have a comment? All right. Then we will discuss this on Thursday evening as well. Item number 5 is consider nominating Joshua Bain to serve as interim director of the Glynn County Emergency Management Agency and authorize the chairman to submit a letter of nomination to the Georgia Emergency Management Agency, GEMA. Gentlemen, any discussion here? If not, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we nominate Joshua Bain to serve as interim director of the Glynn County Emergency Management Agency and authorize the chairman to submit a letter of nomination to the Georgia Emergency Management Agency.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Rafalski, a second by Commissioner Booker. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please raise your right hand. That is unanimous. Item number 6, to lead a discussion on the St. Simons Island Gateway. And you don't look like Ms. Thompson, but we'll certainly entertain Mr. Austin. Thank you for coming forward.
Sir, I am not Pamela Thompson, Community Development Director, Dave Austin, and I'm just here to introduce Mr. Pierce, who's going to walk you through this presentation.
Yes, sir. All right. Mr. Pierce.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Ben Pierce from GWES. We are engineers and consultants here in Brunswick, and come before you this afternoon to discuss the concepts, the initial concepts for the gateway on to St. Simons. I wanted to initially walk through a little bit of what you have in the packet. The information on the slides is very identical to what you have in your handouts. You should have something. It's 11 by 17, looks similar to this. Your first sheet there is kind of an overview or summary of where we're at this point, what are sort of the next steps. Just to briefly discuss through that, we'll get to that here in just a moment. The second portion of the handout is a couple of photocopies of the St. Simons sector study from the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. I've highlighted a few of those items for reference. Projects that were related to the general gateway improvements on the St. Simons. And then the final item in your packet is the 11 by 17 inch color copies of the 5 options that we have to go through this afternoon. So let me take my pointer here, see if I can go through. So as I said, the slides are identical to what you have in your packet. But just to kind of give you a brief overview of where we're at this point, We received notice to proceed early last week, almost about a week ago now. And we have developed an initial draft of 5 concepts in accordance with the guidance that we have with county staff. These are the concepts that we have hypothetically on the table, or figuratively. So these are just include planning level layouts for the improvements. You can kind of see the 5 bullet points that are also in your packet here. It gives a little bit more information than what's on the slide. But it's just planning level concepts at this point. We have not gone through the deep information of right-of-way impacts, traffic impacts, jurisdictional, and so forth. So the outcome of what we're looking for here for this meeting and for this presentation is a list of no more than 4 concepts to pursue on for further study and presentation. So the next steps coming after this meeting today, or at the conclusion of when these concepts are selected, you can see the next steps, and it's also in your handout on the second page, page 2, of just the traffic impact report summarizing the various data that was collected, in particular growth rates, design hourly volumes, existing and proposed intersection designs, and existing and proposed levels of service. And then, as I mentioned, jurisdictional tree canopy impacts, neighboring properties, right-of-way impacts, any sort of underground utilities, overhead utilities that may be apparent, and then, of course, any planning level cost for design and construction, just very planning level is what we would come back with. So we're going to move ahead to the next slide, which is the first item in your packet, or the first 11 by 17 inch in your packet. So you'll see the triple roundabout concept is what we've classified it as, or called it. Again, it's a planning level overview. The concept here is to have one entry roundabout coming off of the causeway, and then one at the intersection of Kingsway and Sea Island, and then another at Demori and Sea Island. We tried as best as we can to replicate the concepts that have been generated, that we've been given, that were kind of on the table for discussion and analysis. And I think the concept initially had a two-lane roundabout there as you come off of the causeway, a 2-lane roundabout at Sea Island and Demori, and a single lane at Kingsway. And moving on to the next slide, the next page in your packet, you have another concept called the Kingsway Flyover concept. This is basically just a single lane road from Kingsway, bypassing the Sea Island and Demori intersection by way of a bridge spanning over the ramp over Sea Island Road, or the ramp on Sea Island Road coming off the causeway, and then tying back in at some point along Demori Road prior to getting onto the causeway. This was another concept that we were presented. Moving forward, the Demori Road flyover concept. This is a realignment of Demori, particularly westbound Demori. As you leave and go off the island, it's another bridge spanning Sea Island Road just north of the existing intersection. This concept, as you can see, eliminates the need for the traffic signal, but you still have many of the same movements that you have today. Sea Island Road coming from Kingsway going off the causeway, Sea Island coming from the north going off of the causeway. Very similar type of configuration, but the only difference here is that you've got a bridge spanning Sea Island Road that would eliminate the need for the intersection and signal. Moving forward to what's called an additional lanes concept. This is a minimal type of reconfiguration of the area, and this keeps the same general pattern and flow of the gateway itself, with the only real variable coming in the addition of 2 lanes going north beyond Sea Island Road, beyond Demori Road on Sea Island Road going north, and at some point tapering back down to the existing 2-lane road. There's some additional turn lanes as you approach the intersection, lengthening of those lanes, and then at the bottom there of at the tie-in from Kingsway, there is a slight realignment as a possibility. I can just tell you from personal experience, trying to make a yield movement or a stop and then a merge movement onto Sea Island Road, that angle that you have to look back is often very acute. Sight distance is limited, and so if you look at this option, you can also see the possibility of realigning Kingsway to be a little bit more at a 90-degree or closer to 90-degree angle to eliminate that acute angle as you look back trying to merge into the road and onto Sea Island, as well as improving sight distance. And then the final option, the final page of your packet, is what I'm calling the Consolidated Roundabout concept. This is bringing all of the primary movements in and off of the gateway onto one single roundabout. Again, the 2-lane concept is preferred here, or what we would anticipate. Some of the legs may be a single-lane approach or a 2-lane approach, but we'll have to get some more details into that. If you all select this option or any of the other options to pursue on with, there's going to need to be some more time and effort put onto evaluating those options in terms of lane configuration, traffic improvements, and impacts. So with that, that's really the conclusion of the presentation. We can, of course, go back and take a look and answer questions as much as I can.
Well, Mr. Pierce,
yes.
do you have any ballpark idea of what a flyover bridge cost might be?
Sure. So, historically, you look at, some of the bridges that have been constructed, here in our area. I wouldn't be so far as to say you're looking at, close to $10 million because of where it's at. You're looking at easily a 3-span bridge with 2 lanes. You could go down to a single lane of Sea Island going north. And I would look at 2 lanes going onto the causeway from Demori Road. Whatever size bridge you're making, if you want to look at a 2-lane or single lane, that's going to be there for many, many years. So you want to get that, you want to make sure you get that right. But yes, because of where it is, because of the nature of the construction that's around it, and the need to maintain traffic, I think you're quite a bit.
And then
What else can I answer with? Yes, sir.
The couple things, this is the whole purpose here. I mean, these are some ideas that have been presented.
Yes.
But from my perspective, you're going to be evaluating and looking at traffic flows, what works better versus one or the other. If we're looking at roundabouts, you're told to look at the correct sizing so we can understand what the correct sizing is to get through there.
Yes.
First I'd like to say I'm not married to any particular one concept here. I want the best concept for this, best solution for this, and it may be one of these, maybe a combination of these.
Sure.
I will say I was somewhat surprised about the Kingsway flyover. I can't imagine what that would cost, nor the jurisdictional issues. So I would almost say I'm not sure why that's even in consideration.
I understand.
But at least from my perspective, we want the best solution.
Right. And I think, and just to kind of go on what you're saying there, it seems like there's really no option that's off the table. I think we need to, in my view, I think there's this whole area we need to, evaluate is as one whole area, not just one single intersection. Yes, Sea Island, Demori is where it's most, you get most of the conflicts because you have a lot of vehicles going off onto the causeway, a lot of vehicles coming off of the causeway. It's just, the approach that we've taken here is to try to, again, present the concepts. This is what's on the table. These are really options that have been considered at this point. There's some variations that can be made, particularly if you look at the location of the roundabout, the size of the roundabout. If you look at additional lane improvements, you can always look at the exclusion of the Sea Island Road coming south, the left-hand turn onto Demori. If you exclude that, I didn't include that in the options here, but if you want to look at additional laneage, that's an additional type of movement that can be eliminated to help improve the efficiency of Demori Road going off the island, and then Sea Island Road going north.
Yeah, and I think in my mind, that's what we're looking at. How do we improve the capacity, the efficiency through there, getting people to be able to just not to be continue to back up to the back river and all the way down to Frederico and Demori. And so whether it's any particular one or combination or either something else that you come across as you're evaluating this, in my opinion, we want the best answer.
Yes, I understand.
In looking at the three roundabouts.
Yes, sir.
What makes it attractive to me, and I've been riding over there for the last 23 years every day, except the weekend. When you have a wreck now, it shuts everything down.
Sure.
But with the roundabouts, you can go down Demori or Kingsway.
Yeah.
So if one way is blocked, you still have another way to go.
That is an attractive pro to this option. Of course, that is on the caveat that when an incident like you're talking about happens either at Sea Island and Demori or Kingsway and Sea Island, not the one at the causeway. So on the triple roundabout that I've labeled here, there's a couple things to keep in mind. Number one, thank you, Matt. Number one, there's going to need to be some GDOT buy-in to this, and only because there's going to need to be some type of mechanism to slow vehicles down as they're coming off the causeway onto this roundabout. Okay, because generally these roundabouts are designed to from 15 to 30 miles an hour at the fastest. So there's got to be some way of slowing vehicles down as they come off the causeway. That's number one. Number two, the actual movements to get off. So if you're coming from Demori Road and you're wanting to get onto the causeway, there's now two roundabouts that you have to venture through. Now, yes, there are conflicts that you're avoiding as compared to the single lane roundabout. So if you look back in option number 5 with a single lane, all of the movements that you have come to that one circle. Now you're breaking it into a couple circles or effectively 3, but if you're wanting to go to Sea Island Road North, you're still having to go through 2 as opposed to 1. If you went through 2 roundabouts, that's 2 areas of delay that you have. With a single roundabout, you have only 1 location where you have that delay. That, in my view, I think it really does. I personally favor the single roundabout, the consolidated roundabout, because, and I understand the perspective about you have multiple ways of getting off. But what it does for me is that it shows that all of those movements that you have in and off the island come through that one location. So if you pass that one roundabout, you're on to the causeway and you're coming off of the causeway. Again, I see it as one overall gateway. You pass through this roundabout, you can get onto the island, you can get off the island. That's the way I see it. The triple roundabout, again, it definitely has its advantages. If you're going off the island from Demori, you pretty much want to stay along Demori Road in the same exact route that you have now. If you're coming from Kingsway, you can go north. If it does have much of a backup, I suppose you can go down Sea Island Road and go back down Demori. But there are advantages to those. But I just want to go back and I want to illustrate what we're doing today. What we're doing today is just, I'm here to give you the options that are on the table. And there's another point that I come back to you with the analysis that I've performed, that we've done at GWES. Okay? So I can go through and evaluate whatever of these concepts you want me to evaluate.
Commissioner Fendig has two questions.
Okay.
He wants to know about the marshland's impact and on cost on any route. And the second question is, he says, think about eliminating the entry roundabout and do the other two.
Yeah. So first on the jurisdictional impact, there's going to need to be mitigation for this. I don't know what the county's bank is, but there are going to be some costs evaluated for, if you want to go with the triple roundabout, you want to go with any option at this point, those are things that we'll look into. How much expected acreage would there be for impacts, and what would be a reasonable value that the county would need to budget for those sort of impacts?
GDOT hasn't seen this.
No, sir.
Yeah, they have.
Oh, they have?
We've showed it to them.
They've seen this triple roundabout?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, again, I thought that whatever options you go forward with, I really think it's necessary that GDOT become aware of any and all of these options that you're considering, so that they can give you as much of their guidance as they can.
Is that something you'll be contacting them with?
I can certainly, reach out to the district office and get their input and see if they have any initial comments on that.
I mean, I really think the data was going to drive any decision. I would think that evaluating these, we're looking at what's going to bring the capacity and efficiency up, as you said, for the whole area.
Yes, for the whole area.
And for me, that's the important factor of understanding the different options, or either combination of options.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. On the single lane, on the single roundabout coming off of the causeway, if you eliminate that, I don't know. I mean, I think you're back to option 5. If you eliminate the roundabout coming off of the causeway, I think you're back to the primary intersection being Sea Island and Demori. The roundabout at Kingsway and Sea Island, the single lane that's shown there on the schematic, that's not much different than a T intersection. A T intersection would function very similarly to a single lane roundabout at that location, because not a lot of people, and again, I don't know the numbers on this exactly, but I'm just anticipating that the amount of traffic that's going to be going from Demori or Sea Island down to Kingsway is going to be substantially less than vehicles going down Kingsway from the causeway. So if you had a T intersection, it would be basically the left-hand turn there. But again, options to think about and consider. But again, what we were doing today is just presenting all the concepts that were currently on the table to review and let you all decide which of those you prefer.
Okay, and Mr. Pierce, on the Consolidated,
Yes, sir.
it's showing two-way traffic on Kingsway headed back to the causeway. How would that two-way traffic merge back into the Demori Road?
So let me make sure I describe it correctly here. So you have the single roundabout at Demori and Sea Island. That other road that's going north and south, that's coming off the causeway now, that's just to access the yacht club. The yacht club has to have future access. So if you move all operations, all traffic down to Sea Island and Demori, somehow people have to get back to the yacht club. So that's what that road is that's there now.
But that takes all the traffic that's coming off the causeway up Demori to the roundabout.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't like that. All right.
That's where they're going now. So right now, the traffic is going in that direction. That's where they're...
Right now, everything comes down Kingsway and then turns. There's nothing coming on the island. Demori's one way going off there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that they're going to be going to this intersection anyway. unless they go straight to Kingsway. And the way you work around that is that you provide basically a bypass lane at the roundabout. If you're concerned about the heavy vehicles, a heavy number of vehicles, you can look at a bypass lane very similar to what you have at Frederica and Demori right now. You can have one of those on Sea Island Road coming from the north end and going onto the causeway. Again, that's another option to consider. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Point with this.
Okay.
They would come down, I think what you're saying, sir, is that they could come this way, is that right? And so they could come down Kingsway this way?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the.
So what we're trying to do is he's got 5 concepts, we're trying to get to 4. Is there one on here that you really don't like? And is there one that's not on here that you want him to consider or something to consider? He's got a lot of work to do to provide a lot of the answers that you guys need to make an informed decision as far as serviceability through the intersection, what the throughput is, and more importantly, what the cost is, and mitigation and all that kind of stuff. So if you... Okay.
And I'd agree with that. The Kingsway flyover is the least.
Is there any way to put this into a computer imaging where you could see the traffic flowing and how it would move and see where it may bottleneck or may not in several of these scenarios? I mean, I know we can't do that now, but I'm just asking a question.
The answer is yes, that can happen.
Yes.
Do we need to narrow it down to 2 or whatever before we can go to that place?
I think we're going to go from, you're going to, go ahead.
That's
To
okay.
4 and then
That's
go
okay.
to 2? or what?
So I mentioned 4. That's what we put in our scope, and that's what had been approved. And that's because if you start to look at 5, 6 options with all of this information, again, because we're not talking about just traffic moving on a screen like little ants going around and all that. It's how much right-of-way is going to be impacted, how much jurisdictional marsh is going to be impacted, how much tree canopy is going to be impacted, utility relocations, all of that. I thought it would be best to, let's get it to no more than 4, because that's just better to grasp and put your mind around. It's 4 options.
Can we agree to just take the Kingsway flyover out of to eliminate one of them for today?
I think so too.
And then we'll discuss from there.
Right. Absolutely. So it'll be variations around this. I mean, again, if there's other ideas, I'm certainly, willing and able to look at those and evaluate those. I can tell you the 2 options that are original to me are options 4 and 5. Those options, I've always thought that 2 lanes going north on Sea Island Road would make a tremendous improvement. And would make that's where a bulk of the problem is now. But absolutely. I mean, I that's right. That's right. Absolutely. No. Correct. Yeah. 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 Right. 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 So on the data front, so it's collecting data, current counts. It's GDOT data. GDOT has a permanent count station in this location that can help us determine historically how has traffic grown in terms of how much has it increased over the years. That'll be very helpful to not just get the growth rates or anticipate what they may be,
but to validate a lot of the counts that we're getting today.
Opportunities, a few years ago, Commissioner Browning and Murphy and I were able to meet with Commissioner McMurray and his team to discuss, options for the causeway, including a second causeway and even widening the current causeway when they do the McKay River Bridge.
Yes, sir.
They were very adamant that the causeway was not the issue.
Yeah.
The issue was really more at the end of each causeway, and that they were willing to work with us to try to find solutions. So I think when you're going through this and reaching out to GDOT, I would expect you would find some sympathetic ears to helping us look through this situation.
Right.
Because at that time, they were adamant they weren't going to widen the McKay Bridge for future lane expansion on the causeway, that their traffic counts and the way they graded the traffic on the causeway this was about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, was that it's currently a B and in 20 years it'll be a C, and based on their matrix, they only considered it a D and really only do anything when it's an F. So as much as we complain about it growing, I guess, compared to the other parts of the state, it's a different matrix that doesn't hold up.
Right. Yeah, that's, and they may even have some other ideas, that we haven't thought about so far. But again, as I mentioned, the primary intersection that we have to be concerned about is the Sea Island Demori intersection. The other movements are certainly important as well, but the getting them in and through that intersection is the primary location.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pierce. Any other discussion on this? All right. Item number 7 is to receive an update on the SPLOST 2016 project. And we've got Mr. Austin and I guess Mr. Andrews today.
Okay, that's first one is roads, resurfacing roads, and we finished up the LMIG, last year's LMIG. We still have road widening along Kingsway, which we're going to start after Labor Day, and some work up there on North Frederica Road, and then we're putting together our LMIG 22 list right now.
This is the road widening for Glencoe Parkway, from Canal to Glencoe Parkway. We have the plans revised for the flush median. Finalized an acquisition. We're down to, attorney's office says we're down to 2 that are still under negotiation. Our acquisitions guy is working hard to get those 2, trying to set up a meeting with one of the owners to get that done. And once we get that done, we're hoping that the Corps has already given us a preliminary thumbs up on the wetlands. We're pushing them to get a final, and then we should be ready to get it out to bid. Dungeness. Received last week the concept from Georgia DOT regarding their alternative that they suggested, which was making improvements to Highway 17 to provide for additional traffic carrying and work around Southport. Sent it out for staff to take a look at and get their thoughts. Assuming that we don't receive anything major, we'll get it out next week for y'all to take a look at and see if it's something we want to pursue with Georgia DOT.
Pennock Road, we've had the pre-con, and we're just waiting for the contract to come back, and then we'll give them a notice to proceed. Sea Island and Demori, those guys are underway, except they're moving at a snail's pace right now. I think they're waiting for their traffic PED signs right now, then they'll be out there to finish that job up. Spur and Altama. The extension, we got, since the last talk to you, the contractor gave us a 30-day extension. So we're still in play under the original contract, and Will has been doing an outstanding job. Will and Claire have been doing an outstanding job necking all these properties down. We got some good news today, and they're going to come see you Thursday night for something, for some real estate thing. And we're asking the contractor for another 30 days on his bid. And Will thinks he can wrap it up then. If not, then we'll have to, I'll come back to you to reject the bid, and they'll have to put it out to bid again. So we're hopeful. I forgot my blue blazer, by the way. I didn't know my...
This one's, we've got, it's listed as under construction. The contractor is got it staked out now. He's getting his equipment ready to get out there and hit it, and we're expecting that in the next couple of weeks for them to actually start building on that. And the south end, this is the part that's T-grant funded. We moved to the next milestone, which is setting up a pre-construction meeting. Have that set up. GDOT wants that set up for, they're going to push it to next month because that's the process that GDOT goes through in order to move to construction. Is they set up a big pre-construction meeting. So we're getting all the everything together that they need, but we're at the next step. Once we hit the pre-construction, then we'll be out there working.
This is Allen Owens Construction. They're working their way south slowly. The rains hit them a little bit. And I missed that 31 July, Commissioner O'Quinn, so I think we're looking at October or something. It's going to be slow, but as long as he keeps moving, okay.
This is the project we're currently on hold with acquisition pending the Community Development Block Grant funding, and we're rescoping that project to include, with the City of Brunswick, to include construction of all the phases of it through that program. Anticipate from meetings with the state that the funding should be coming through but it's in there along their process and their timeline to get that. Once we get that, we'll be continuing through acquisition and finalizing permitting. I don't have any other than this is the one with the FLETC. We've revised the memorandum of understanding to include the last requirements they had was that the county would take over maintenance of that section that we made improvements on. Made the revisions to that MOU and sent it back to them. Keep on pushing on them and see if we can get an answer. We've got phase one is under contract for design, and phase two we should be out for design here in the next week or so. Contractor is here who won that and got awarded that, and so they'll be underway on the detailed design so we can get that phase one under construction. That's the Sterling area, and then phase two will be the taking the concept of the big outfall ditch and making that into a detailed design. That'll be out for RFPs. It's the one that we're ready to go. We're going to run this in conjunction with the next one is the South Palm drainage. We are counter-offering the property owner and hoping we'll have some success on that. That went out end of last week.
So I can tell you construction's getting very strange nowadays. They're placing furniture, they're placing cat trees in the cat room, but they don't have the paint to paint the door jambs because that hadn't come in yet. So there's a lot of activity going out. The landscapers are out putting in the landscaping, and so we're working to close this one up. Tiffany Hill has also done an extensive checklist of movement to move her out of the old facility into the new facility. We are in facilities, and some of my public works folks will make every effort to get her moved in to that facility as best we possibly can and get her set up. I've told Dave Carver, you know, if she needs a picture on the wall, we hang the picture. We want everything to look right. And then we were ready to take the old facility and kind of wait for your instruction on what you want to do with the old facility.
Thank you, Mr. Austin. Thank you, Mr. Andrews. We do have executive session today. I need a motion to go into executive session for the matter of personnel.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman, I move
motion that
go into executive session for the matter of personnel.
I have a motion by Commissioner O'Quinn, a second by Commissioner Tostison to go into executive session. All in favor, please raise your right hand. That is unanimous, and we stand in recess. Need a motion to come out of executive session.
I second.
I move that the Board of
Wait a
Commissioners...
second, we didn't vote on it.
You're right.
We have a motion by Commissioner O'Quinn, a second by Commissioner Tofton to come out of executive session. All in favor, please raise your right hand. That is unanimous.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Board of Commissioners approve the executive session minutes from the July 15th, 2021, July 20th, 2021, and August 12th, 2021 executive session.
Have a motion by Commissioner Fendig, a second by Commissioner O'Quinn to approve the minutes of 3 previous executive sessions. All in favor, please raise your right hand. That is unanimous. Any other business to come before the commission today? Need a motion to adjourn? Have a motion by Commissioner O'Quinn, a second by Commissioner Rafalski to adjourn. All in favor, please raise your right hand. We stand adjourned.